Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nikhil Isaac, and I am the author of the recently published book, Fabulously Financially Free, a practical book filled with strategies and tips for the middle class to exit the rat race. If we were to look at the question of the day, how do you live a legendary life which is worth being written about? Well, the no-brainer to that is first get out of the rat race. Whenever we contemplate such deep questions, it's good to look at history. Oftentimes, history gives us the clues and tips needed to what we are looking. The first person who comes to my mind is the famous Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius. All of us know him thanks to the movie Gladiator. Marcus Aurelius was the most famous of Roman emperors who stretched the Roman Empire across continents. So if we were to define his day job, it would be filled with plundering, looting and bloodshed on the battlefield. But what do you think Marcus Aurelius did in his spare time? He wrote philosophy. His book Meditations is still a bestseller and makes an interesting reading if you love Stoic philosophy. But isn't that such a contrary set of interests? The second person I think of is from the field of art and culture, Leonardo da Vinci, the most famous painter whose works were Mona Lisa, The Last Supper, and Salvador Mundi. They are the most famous paintings and some of the most expensive paintings ever created. But do you think he was just an artist? No way. He was a scientist, engineer, architect, sculptor, draftsman. In fact, he had a series of diaries which is subject to study even to date. For example, he had a page which had a detailed drawing of how a helicopter design should be. Now, this needs to be taken in context. The Wright brothers who discovered human flight came many, many years after he was alive. If you think about children, toddlers, kids in the primary school, there's one thing common across continents, across caste, creed and nationality. They all have a sparkle in their eyes. But if you look at a typical 45 or a 50-year-old man, the only time he would have a sparkle in his eye when he is holding up a glass of scotch. So what went wrong? And I believe the fault lies in the education system. Our education system is like a cone. Very broad when we were young. We had a plethora of subjects: music, art, dance, playing with blocks, science experiments. But as we grew smarter and smarter, we started only concentrating on subjects which made us employable. In fact, if you think of the zenith of education is getting a PhD in a super narrow niche. But does that really help us in our day-to-day living? I believe if we want to create a legacy, if we want to have a legendary life, it's time to invert this cone and have a funnel of interests, to be polymaths just like Leonardo da Vinci. I believe the key to leading a legendary life is to be a jack of all trades and master of many. I like to leave this evening with the simple thought: broad,